Hi everyone, Jennifer here again. As you can see, we are working on our movie poster, and I've now got the tree inside the moon. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to paint grass, okay? So what I have here is I have my ground layer, which I made with the rectangular marquee, okay? And that's all fine. Let me just turn that back on. And actually, yeah, I have the tree silhouette behind the ground, which is fine. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make another layer by just clicking on this little icon with the plus sign in it. And we'll put this above the ground layer. And we can call this grass 1. Now, what's fun about this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paintbrush, and I found a paintbrush that looks like grass. So just to show you, if you click here in your brush settings, you have all kinds of different brush settings, and then you have different kinds of brushes. Just to show you over here, if I click down here, I have all of these different kinds of brushes as well. Now, if anyone is having trouble finding the grass, I can have a Zoom meeting where I'm going to show this to you. But, you know, you're going to make a movie poster that's completely based on um, anything you want to make. Okay, so there are all kinds of choices for the different kinds of brushes. You can see there are just lots and lots of brushes to choose from. So you shouldn't have a problem. And there are a lot of other brushes to choose from. There are different brush groups. So just go through and look for any kind of brushes you might be interested in. Grass was in legacy brushes at one point. Um, and so, you know, you might want to look there. They might have reset it to being just one of the more popular brushes as well. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel. But as you can see, grass is a nice one that I've chosen. And when you open your brush settings, you'll notice that you have these two different choices, brush settings and brushes. Um, and the icons for them are right here. So this is brush settings and these are brushes, okay? And if I just click here, I can get right back into my brushes as well, okay? The nice thing about brush settings is that you can change a lot of things about your brushes. So right here, you'll notice I have my shape dynamics, and I've set my shapes to have a size jitter of about 10%. And as you can see, it's showing me how they change. So I have a variation of what kinds of sizes of grass I'm going to get here, okay? For scattering, you'll notice I can make them scatter more or less as I paint. Count, I can have more or less um, actual pieces of grass that are painted. And you know, you want to just play around and see what you get by moving these sliders, okay? Color dynamics is a really fun one. Let's just look at smoothing for a second. So, and you want to make sure that, let's go here. So for color dynamics, you want to make sure you click on it, because what you'll notice is you've got all of these different, when you click on it and highlight it, you have a lot of different things you can do here. I'm making sure that I've clicked on apply per tip. Once again, apply per tip. And I have a hue jitter set to 59%. Now let's take a look at how that works. I also have saturation jitter, brightness jitter, and purity. Let's look at hue jitter for a moment. If I keep my hue jitter at 0%, and let's flip this so I have this pinkish purplish color, and I just start painting on grass 1, you'll notice that I have very few variations in the way the grass looks, okay? I do have a saturation jitter set up to 58%, and a brightness jitter set up to 28%. So I'm getting slightly different looking colors of grass. I'm going to hit Command Z and undo that. Let's put our saturation jitter at 0 and our brightness jitter at 0 and just see what happens now. So as you can see, it's just all the exact same pink color. I'm going to hit Command Z. All right, let's bring our saturation up again and our brightness up. So jitter means change, like how things are different. And now you see I get these nice variations. But what if I wanted to have my hue jitter be higher? Take a look. Let's say I bring it up to 39%. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to paint a variation of colors of grass, which are really can be really pretty, going into different colors in the spectrum. If I just hit Command Z again. If I bring it up even more, look at all the colors I get. So it's really kind of beautiful. I'm starting to get the full spectrum of colors. Okay, so obviously 100 would be a completely full spectrum of colors. Now, I could have a lot of fun with this, or I could just go ahead and make it paint all black because this is a silhouette. But it doesn't really matter because if you'll watch, I can go ahead and end it up with black if I want anyway. But let's go ahead and we'll just paint and have fun with this. Let's just see what we get here. Now, as you can see, it's giving me a variation of where these grass pieces are going. I can always actually bring this grass layer down. So this is grass 1. If I switch now back to my move tool, okay, now I can just move all these down. Okay, so maybe they're down here in the middle. And then what I could do is I could make another layer and paint and call this grass BG. Or then there are a lot of ways to do this. I'm sure you might have your own different ways of doing things, especially if you're more experienced. I could now put grass BG below grass 1 because it's going to be smaller blades of grass. So if I switch back to my brush tool and now I want to make smaller blades, I'm just going to hit my left bracket. This is going to be underneath. And now I'm going to have like these smaller blades, right? And I can even go smaller. So I could go ahead and hit the left bracket again and paint even smaller. So I can get the illusion here of a 3D environment. And definitely want to make sure I cover up those black edges of that background line. And I'm getting a very, almost like an Alice in Wonderland kind of effect here, which is kind of neat. So now I'm going to go a little bit bigger, paint a little bit further towards my grass 1 layer. Just kind of fill that in and make it really neat. Okay. You know, another thing I could do is I could just copy the grass 1 layer and make it smaller or bigger and duplicate it a few times. So, and I'll show you that technique as well in just a moment. Okay, so that's kind of neat. And you'll notice that I'm painting below the grass 1 layer. So anything I paint is going to look like it's behind the grass 1 layer. I'm just going to make this smaller, fill in this little gap here, get some nice grass there, and then go bigger again. Make sure I can really get that to look right. Okay, so that's looking pretty decent. Now, let's say I wanted to use like a copy and paste effect, okay? So what I could do is I could take the grass 1, which is the bigger layer, right? Which is above grass background, and I can just drag it into the plus sign to make another layer of it, right? So I'm taking that grass 1 and I'm duplicating it. And now go to the move tool so I don't have to paint anymore, although I love painting. But I could just bring this down and and as you can see, it's all duplicated. So what I could do is I could hit Command T, hit right bracket or Control on a Mac, and flip it horizontal. And then nobody's going to notice that I flipped the exact same thing horizontally. And now what I can do is just hold down Option and make it bigger. Okay. And so now I have like a grass foreground, and then bring that down more, like here, for example, hit Return. Okay. And so then I could go in and even paint again, or once again, I can call this grass foreground or FG. Okay. So that's pretty cool. But you'll notice, there's some black here. So obviously I could do that whole technique again and flip it again, Or if I want more variety, I'll go ahead and make sure my paintbrush is quite big now. Maybe that's okay. I have another new layer that I just made by hitting the plus sign to make a blank new layer. Remember, plus will make a blank new layer. And now I can put some really nice grass here in this foreground, in this extreme foreground, right? And that can look really nice. So that's pretty cool. Now, I could even put a big blade of grass right here if I wanted to, like, really put it in the foreground, which I guess I'll do just to show you what I mean. So I could just go like this, you know, and then just take that little piece there. Well, actually, I'm going to hit Command Z. I'll make another layer for it, put it on its own layer, and just go ahead and paint a little bit. And now I've got a little bit of grass in the foreground. Hit V and move it over. Okay, so I get kind of a nice effect of some grass really in the foreground. I could bring it down or I could bring it up, especially if I turn this all into a silhouette. That might look pretty good. As a silhouette, I can transform it, Command T, maybe bring it out like this. So I don't see any bottoms of that grass. Hit return. Okay, make sure you hit Command S to save. Let's take a look at that. So that's looking pretty interesting, right? But maybe I've decided, okay, you know what? It's really neat, but I'm going to keep this a little simpler. So let's save again. Now, one thing I could do, and this is something new, is I could select all of these layers, right? And maybe I really like them. And I could then make them into a group from layers, and we'll call this grass 1. Click on OK. And then let's see here. I could have a grass 1 copy, turn off the first grass 1, and then I could go in here and just hit Command E. Command E took all of the layers in grass 1 copy and it merged them. Command E. It made them all one layer. And the reason I'm doing this is because I actually want grass 1 copy, and we're going to call this grass silhouette. Okay. There we go. And now what I can do is take this grass silhouette, and there are many ways I can do this, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and go image adjustments, and I can just use my hue saturation, which I happen to love, bring the lightness all the way down, and voila, very easy. Now I just have the silhouette of the grass with a little bit in the front. If it turns out I don't like that grass in the front, I would, since I merged them all, I'd probably go back and I actually don't want it there. So I can just go back, go here before I merge the group. So I'm at the layer visibility here. And I can take this layer, right, and delete it. Or turn it, or just turn it off, right? Close this, Command E. Okay, now it's that grass 1 copy. Image adjustments. Let's try a different one. Let's go with brightness contrast. See if I just bring the brightness all the way down. Not quite. Let's bring the contrast all the way up. Let's go this way. Oh, that's actually beautiful, but that's not going to work. So you'll see that certain tools don't necessarily work the way you think they're going to. I could probably use, let's try my levels. I could definitely desaturate and then make it, you know, really dark, but let's try levels. Let's just see if levels is going to work. It probably will, but let's see. Bring it all the way down. There you go. So I brought my levels all the way down, and now my grass is completely black this way as well. Click on OK. And then now this is, we'll just call this grass. SILHOUETTE. There you go. Okay, so maybe that's more of what I want. Okay, so now I can go ahead and hit save. And maybe if I feel like I need to even duplicate that again, I can bring this down. And now it looks fuller, as you can see. And I can take this other layer and once again flip it horizontally. And now I have two layers. I have the silhouette and the silhouette copy. Command, let's hit return. And now it has a real nice full look. I don't see really any of that black line. I could also take these two and drag them up a little bit so they're really covering the black line. And then again, I could actually bring this, let's let go of that one. Put the grass silhouette above the copy, select them both, Command E, and now my grass silhouette is a very rich looking grass. See that? So that's looking pretty good. So that's a little bit about painting, and you've got lots and lots of brushes to choose from. You could even buy brushes on the internet. Lots of cool things you can do. So let's go ahead and continue with this. The next thing I might want to do is add my text, and I already did add it. I used the text blue, the font. Let's go into my font. Let's actually open this up here so you can see Bauhaus 93. So I typed Blue Moon, and it's in all caps and bold. And now what I can do is go into my paragraph and center everything. Okay, so you should have watched my other tutorial where I showed you how to use fonts. And if you didn't, go back and take a look at that one. But it's very easy. You just use your pen, your typing tool. And once you use your typing tool, let's just take a look here. Let's go back to character so you can see that. Your typing tool. And you've got in your options bar up here, you can choose how large you want your font to be, if you want it left justified, centered, or right justified, whatever color you want to use. I actually clicked, like right in here, and the eyedropper allowed me to choose a color that was already in the scene, which is very nice. And there you go. So that was the font that I wanted. And now I can go in here and just as I have done before, I could play around with making this bigger, smaller, what have you. So what I might want to do is make blue bigger. So I can go ahead and let's see, I'm going to make the font bigger right there. Okay, so that's pretty nice. It's actually, and it's acting a little weird, but I think it's going to be okay once I'm done with selecting it. It's probably just my computer. So, that's a little bit bigger. I could also, if I don't want it to be so much bigger, I could space it out a little bit by just clicking here and taking blue and making it a little bit further away, making the characters a little bit further away from each other. Okay, and that could be pretty nice. Let's just take a look at what that looks like. So I'm just going to click, yeah, so that's looking pretty good. And then what I could do is I can use another tool that I haven't shown you yet. Let me close this. And actually, we're going to go here. Let's actually make it a little bit bigger before I do that. I'm going to go ahead and let's go back in here and make it bigger, but I'm not going to actually, I'm going to transform it. So I'm going to hit Command T. So because my fonts are two different sizes and they're slightly spaced differently, I'm just going to hit Command T and use Option and make this whole thing bigger. And remember, since this is vector, I'm not going to damage it. Nothing's being damaged when I res up this way. Okay, and let's say that's good enough. Let's bring that down a little bit. And now I think I'm going to make the leading a little bit smaller. So let me go in here and I'm going to go, let's see, let me go here. Oh, you know what I have to do? I have to, oh, that worked actually. Let's go back. Let's make it smaller. Go down to like, yeah, 160, maybe a little bit less. Give it a little more, little less space. I'm going to say that's good enough. And now I'm going to use another tool. So here, let's take a look at this tool. This is called the Create Warped Text tool. And it says that it uses a faux bold. You want to remove the attribute and continue? Yes, I will. And now I can warp the text. So I'm going to go ahead and change it from none to bold. Let's see how that works because it'll look more rounded. At least it should if it's going to cooperate with me. Horizontal and vertical bend. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So maybe that might be what I want there. Let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, so let's say I like that. Okay, maybe at this point it's a little too big. I can't see the tree so well behind it, but it's kind of interesting. Um, now this is where your artistic skills come in. Okay, so let's say, yeah, that's actually a little bit better. But now what I can do is I could use my blend modes. Remember the blend modes? So let's just see if there might be a blend mode that makes this not so obvious. So maybe I want to do lighten, right? Or screen, color dodge. Um, some of these blend modes could be just what I want, or I could even change the opacity and lower it. Let's just see what else I have. Soft light. So blend modes can be really helpful for this kind of thing. This one's kind of interesting. It gives it a very ethereal, weird kind of look. Okay, so these might be helpful. But you know what? Let's first, before we play with the blend modes, let's just double click on our layer styles on the far right of that layer. Remember, you have to click on the far right. Let me do that again. I click over here on the far right of the layer, and I can choose some of these cool layer styles. So I could bevel and emboss if I want. I could do a stroke around it if I want. I could do maybe I'll just do an outer glow. Let's try that. And let's actually turn off bevel and emboss. Give it a really kind of, surrealistic effect. I could, once again, I can take this color and instead of having it being white, I could choose the blue that's in there, or even maybe a brighter kind of a blue. Click on OK. And then I can make its opacity, um, you know, higher, and maybe its size bigger. And now I've got quite a glow there. So that's pretty neat. Maybe it's a little bit too bright, so I'm going to go with maybe a more of a white, but not completely white. Like maybe a less. There you go. So something like that could be interesting. Maybe bring the opacity down a little bit so it's not so crazy there. So that's actually kind of nice. And, I could try bevel and emboss with it. If I do bevel and emboss, I'm going to really want to change my multiply black color to a blue again. So I'm going to click that. So please have fun with this. This is really fun stuff. I'm going to make it a darker kind of color within those tones. And I'm going to bring this beveling and embossing. Let's make it bigger so it's more rounded. There you go. Like it's like a pillow emboss, okay? So that could be pretty interesting. And then the opacity of the whole thing, let's see, I've got screen multiply, so I could go ahead and lower the opacity of screen, lower the opacity of multiply, just so it's not so harsh of an embossing. Go ahead and click on OK. And now maybe what I can do is go ahead and try some of these other ones that I had tried before, like maybe lighten it a little bit. And that's pretty nice. One thing I can do here to make this all work better is maybe make my moon kind of bluish, right? After all, this is called Blue Moon. So I'm going to take my moon and I'm going to go Image, Adjustments. Let's try. So since this is black and white, it's a little bit weird. There are different ways you can do everything. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use hue saturation again. But before I do that, let's just try curves. And if curves work, I won't even use hue saturation. See, we often get stuck as Photoshop users on just using something that we love. So let me try blue and just see what I can do here. See if I can give it more of a blue feel. Yes, I can. Curves are really great. So as you can see, now it's a purplish. Now, hue and saturation would have allowed me to easily choose any color I want, but the curves can be really fun too. So let's just try this. Let's bring it even over to the left even more here. And now I have a really purpley blue, purpley color. So let's go to red and see if I can take out red. So I'm going to bring red down this way. Let's just see if that's going to help me. Let's try this. Let's see. There we go. That's getting rid of some of that redness. And this is actually pretty cool. It's still very, very blue. But try curves because they're really fun. Remember, I'm going into all the different curves and just playing with them. Let's bring this all the way over. That's actually very pretty. It's still, you know, unless I were to go in and change my other backgrounds, this blue is very, very strong. It's actually pretty neat. I'm going to say that's actually good. And now, you know, what I can do is I can go into this night sky and I can go image adjustments and let's just do hue saturation and make this bluer. The sky is going to be more of a blue that kind of matches. So in this case, I'm going to saturate it more and I'm going to make it less purple. It was really more of a teal before. So let's see if I can match it to my moon a little bit better. I always could have just done the moon, but let's see. Let's bring that blue more into the, there we go. Okay, let's say that's pretty good. Now I could go in there and paint. There are a lot of things I could do to make it exactly what I want. I don't want to bore you and waste your time, but like, so this, I just brought the lightness up a little bit and that's working really nicely. And now I can go into my text layer, which is still just text, right? I can click here and I can just choose this color. And let's see what that looks like. Too bright. So I'll go in there and maybe choose like this darker, like a darker blue. See what that does. Too dark. So, you know, you have to play with it. Let me just do it one more time. Let's try that. There we go. 3 was the magic spell. So there you go. That's pretty nice. This is in lighten mode, which also made it a little bit harder to choose the color. And now I'm going to bring its opacity down a little bit here. And that's pretty nice. More subtle. I could bring it down even more if I wanted to. So that gives you a really nice idea of how all of this works. And then you'd want to put your billing block down here. Just to show you how that works, you're going to go on defont.com. So right here, what we're going to do is we're going to type in Universal Accreditation Font. Okay, and the first thing that comes up is going to be defont.com. Choose that link. And now you're going to very carefully just download it. Once again, just like I showed you before, you're going to put that font, okay, into your font library. Okay, so just to kind of refresh here, go to your Macintosh HD library, fonts. If you have a PC, you should be able to find, like in your program, you should be able to find your font library, put it in there. And as you can see, I've done this before. So I have Universal Accreditation. It's a really great font for making the billing block, which is the, you know, the bottom part where you see all of those words that say who produced it and who starred in it and all of those things. Universal Accreditation. So here it is right here. Now I'll go back to Photoshop, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the best way to use this font. Okay, so I can just type here Universal, oops, sorry, there it is, regular. So that's the one I want. Actually, sorry, I'm in the Blue Moon layer. So go out of that layer. Make sure you're not in a font layer. Once again, Universal Accreditation, regular. And now I'm going to type here. I'm going to use, I could use white, or I could use like a lighter blue. Probably want to use like a lighter blue. So I'll choose this color and maybe click here. Let's just see what I can come up with that might be on the light side. Maybe this beveling here that's in the actual blue moon, or maybe up here in this area that's lighter of the moon. I can always change the color as well. So let's go ahead and go with this very light color. And the way this font works, the best thing to do is go to Window and go to your glyphs. Open up your glyphs, G-L-Y PHFs, F. And what you'll see here is all these different letters, okay? And you'll see all these different little terms that are already there for you. Okay, now these all do correspond to letters. Also, when you're doing this, make sure that if you're typing that all of this stuff here is turned off. So this is all caps, so just turn that off because it could cause problems when you're using the Universal Accreditation font. So just to give you an example, you're going to go ahead and let's say you want to type produced by. Well, you just click here, okay, and then click. And as you can see, all this stuff comes up. And let's just go here and I'm going to highlight that. Produced by. There you go. So I double clicked on it and I got produced by. And now I'm going to click right after produced by. I'm actually going to go back, Command Z, and make sure that my spacing is not too wide. So right here, I have a spacing of 160. I'm just going to make that 0 and make sure that that's actually part of this. So let's do this and bring that down to 0. Okay. All right, 0, return. And now, after I type produced by, what I'm going to do is I don't need my glyphs at the moment. Let's say I produced the movie, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put caps lock on or hold down shift, okay? Now if I put down caps lock, look at this. I get my name, Jennifer Penton, okay? Now this is set for center, so I can just move this to left justify. And now look at that. I have my produced by all using Universal Accreditation font, and I'm just double clicking in the glyph to find the right little caption that goes before the names. So I'll show you that on the internet in just a moment. But this is obviously huge. So I'm going to go ahead and change the font size by going into character to, let's see, let's scroll down. Maybe something like that. Okay, that might be a little bit too big still. It probably is. Let's just go down a little. Now, of course, remember, if this were a full-size movie poster, we'd be using bigger fonts, okay? But there we go. And so you're going to make a complete billing block, which is all this stuff at the bottom, okay? And you're going to just type all of that in there. So written by, produced by, just make all of that stuff up. You know, use names of like your friends, family, whatever, or you can use famous people. But let me show you on the internet what a billing block looks like. So if I just go to images.google.com, I'm in caps lock because I was typing my name, Building block. Okay, let's get a idea. So these are all building blocks, okay? And they're at the bottom of movie posters. So they tell all the people that are involved in making the movie. You've seen these your whole life, and now you know they're called building blocks, and now you know that this is how to make them. Um, let's just do, like, I think Black Panther is a good movie that has a nice building block. Let's see. Movie poster, just so you can see how big the building block is in relation. Oh, here we go. Let's just take a look at this. You can kind of see it down there. Um, let's try something else. Let's see. Let's go to images. Um, let's see. Movie. Let me type movie poster with building block. So you can see. Oh, Interstellar is a good one. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Yeah, and actually Studio Binder has a tutorial on this too. It's more complicated than what I recommend. But yeah, so this is really nice, as you can see. So I would like you to make a billing block as well. And those of you who are more advanced, please put like PG-13 or whatever in there and add some little captions. Here's Warner Brothers, like this. I may actually show you that in the next tutorial, but I think I better stop because it's getting pretty long. Okay, I'll see you in the next tutorial.